The violin plot is a way of representing a distribution of numbers. It is an alternative to a box and whisker diagram, but it is not for every type of data. I'm going to illustrate this here using an excerpt from the dataset called the Palmer Penguin dataset, often used for illustrating data science methods. It contains 3 different types of penguins, and here I've just pulled out the bill length for each of these in the dataset, which has a distribution, but we want to visualize how the bill length changes with species. We can do this by first adding a box command, which also will be used for making the violin plots. And to get the violin plot, change the type from whisker to either violin PDF or count. I'll explain the difference in a moment, but here is the violin PDF. Nice. Uh, I can expand this open. There's a fill option among other options in here to change the color scheme. So I can color this based on species. I think that looks nice. But how do we know our data is well represented by this? Well, the best way is to look at all the data with this. And this command also, if I make a copy of this using the option drag, if I change the type to points, boom, now I see all of the points in my data set. And this really helps me confirm whether or not this is truly representing this distribution of numbers. Also, the point color itself, I can have vary based on some variable. Here, I'm just also going to use a species, could be another variable, but I've already got this set up. And essentially what this diagram is, it's a kernel density diagram. We talked about these in the video on marginal plots. That's turned on its side, and it has a mirror image of itself and gives us this kind of nice elegant looking distribution of numbers that shows us patterns that would be hard to see with a box and whisker diagram. But your pro tip is to understand what is the difference between Violin PDF versus Violin Count. For example, the Violin PDF, if you look at each one of these violin plots and look at the maximum width, they're all the same. That's because with this setting, each violin plot is scaled independently. But if I change this to violin count, now the width of the plot depends on the number of points in the data set. And you can pretty clearly see that this middle violin plot has less points and its width therefore is narrower, because here I'm scaling the width globally. So the penguin here, the first one is the one that has the most points, and this one is now the one that's the widest. Okay, there it is. There's your brief introduction to making violin plots in DataGraph.